We're going to call this meeting to order at exactly 5 o'clock p.m. And with that, I'm going to take it to
Recording
roll call.
in progress.
Chair Reyes is not present tonight. Vice Chair DeVito? I am present. Trustee Como?
Present.
Trustee Cooper?
Here.
Trustee Cavania?
Here.
Trustee Marn?
Here.
Trustee Malone?
Here.
Trustee Matthews?
Here.
Trustee Perez? And Trustee Terwell?
Yes.
All right. Jeff, are there any announcements?
I have no announcement.
Are there citizens to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, for the ATV meeting, we have one citizen to be heard. He is signed in online.
We have now come to the citizens to be heard portion of our public meeting. The board is interested in hearing the comments and concerns from our patrons and citizens in the San Antonio and Bexar County area. Questions that may arise during this portion of the meeting regarding programs, projects, or service issues may be addressed at a later date by the president, CEO, and/or his staff. This process will assure that VIA is in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, which does not allow the VIA board to deliberate matters that are not on the agenda this evening. Additionally, this process assures that you receive the most accurate response to your question or concern. Thank you, and VIA appreciate your time and your effort as you share your comments with us this evening.
Will McLeod.
Good afternoon, via Board of Trustees, Board Chair, the record. My name is Will McLeod. I'm riding the 64 en route to downtown, vehicle 379. I guess y'all's code of conduct is not being enforced, or your mask policy. Is the driver looking for 5 o'clock on payday? I would like to know. Also, in addition, y'all should probably take down your commitment to accessible service, because y'all failed on that on numerous occasions. This morning, when I was trying to abort at 5:34, I spoke with what was her name? Cindy and Ophelia. And Ophelia decided to want to be argumentative, obstinate, oppositional, and she was out of line. When we asked the question, who do they work for? And they replied, VIA. Well, who's VIA? They should say, who funds VIA? We do, the taxpayers do. And if she cannot answer simple questions, she should not be working plain simple. Also, I haven't got a response to what happened last month. It's just that the matter has been dealt with. How has it been dealt with? Do I have to continue to go through public records request, public records request, public records request? And you guys owe me $8 because I had to take Uber to get to my job because y'all decided to get the queue to run your bus service 15 minutes late so we could miss the connection in Eagle Transit. You know, that wouldn't happen if you planned your route. You know, like pairing the 534 with the 620. That makes sense. I mean, what's going on? Why has that not been taken care of? You know, you're that late. Run a spacer. People cannot afford to pay for Ubers because y'all don't want to show up on time. The 618 route is supposed to be parked Ingram Transit Center at 35 after, not 40 after, not 41 after, but 35 after. What's going on with that? Also, I still haven't got a response as regards to, y'all moving the bus stops in the middle of the night without giving any patron any notice whatsoever. I want to know what happened to your bus stop on Haverford, Nacogdoches, and Oak Ledge, Nacogdoches, And there was one on Honeysuckle on 410. Y'all need to have better stop spacing. Y'all stop spacing is pathetic. Think about that. Next portion.
There are no more citizens to be heard for ATD meeting.
Right. Thank you. Now to item number 4, our consent agenda. Trustees, ready to entertain a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair, I'll come up.
It's been moved. Ready for a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 5, which is an amendment to the interlocal government agreement between the Advanced Transit District and Bear County. Mr. Alloway, or Dr. Alloway.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I believe Mr. Herrera was going to offer some words before we got into the presentation.
Oh, actually, I was just going to introduce and set the table, Mr. Chairman, about this item as it connects to 1 year ago. Our voters in the San Antonio area, as we know, approved the 1/8 reallocation of sales tax that will start happening in 2026. A very important step to that is interlocal agreements that will be happening between Bear County and hopefully the city of San Antonio for funding related to the Keep San Antonio moving plan. So Leroy's going to walk us through some of those details as it relates to this and get you this item up for your consideration by the Advanced Transportation District. Leroy.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. And we'll go ahead and hop through this. So again, just as way of background to remind everyone, transit in the state of Texas in the large urban areas is funded primarily by sales tax. In the case of VIA, we were the first MTA created in the state, and voters approved a sales tax of 1/2 cent back in 1977. The other 1/2 cent has been used for other purposes within the community. In 2004, voters were asked in the city of San Antonio to agree to the creation of an advanced transportation district, which is what we're talking about today. And we can go to the next slide. The ATD, as placed in state law, requires a split of every dollar that comes in. 50% of the receipts come through the ATD board to VIA to support public transit operations. 25% goes to the city of San Antonio, in this case because they are the only participating municipality within the boundaries of the ATD. And then the last 25% goes to a leverage fund that is required to have additional funding beyond just the ATD to be able to access that funds. Now, over the last couple of years, you've heard us talk about that leverage pot being more of the county fund. And the reason for that is up to this point, Bear County has been the primary user of that leverage pool with the Texas Department of Transportation accelerating a number of road projects throughout the community. We can go to the next slide. As Mr. Herrera mentioned, and as the board is very well aware, last November 2020, voters were asked on the topic of reallocating 1/8 of a cent of sales tax starting January 1st, 2026, to focus on advanced public transportation services, operations, innovative advanced public transportation purposes, or other public transportation mobility enhancement purposes. 68% of voters approved that Proposition A for the ATD, so that 1/8 cent moves forward starting January 1, 2026 to the benefit of the district. Next slide, please. So this is what our sales tax will look like starting January 1st, 2026. Again, the 1/2 cent for the VIA MTA tax remains the same. The 1/4 cent that was approved by voters in 2004 for the initial ATD authorization remains. The City of San Antonio's pre-K for SA program received a 7-year authorization in 2020, so it will be still in effect in 2026. And then the City's Ready to Work program will stop collecting funding December 31st, 2025, at which point that 1/8 of a cent comes to the ATD. That is to support the Keep SA Moving program. Next slide, please. In all the discussions with the community prior to the election, the ballot itself, and then listening and talking with elected officials throughout the region, the consensus has been that the Keep SA Moving framework and plan needs to utilize the full 1/8 of a cent of sales tax. Indeed, the plan itself is based on the full $40 million a year in 2020 dollars being available to support ART North-South, innovation zones, better bus, and improved overall transit operations. To be able to realize that, those short of a change in state statute, we do need to have memorandums of understanding and local agreements executed with the city and the county on the usage of the new 1/8 of a cent coming in January 2026. We can go to the next slide, please. And so last Tuesday, December 7th, Commissioner's Court took the first step in approving the 6th Amendment to the existing interlocal agreement between the ATD and Bear County. In that amendment, the Commissioner's Court agreed that the ATD should keep all the revenue generated by the reallocated tax, and that the leveraged portion that had previously been utilized by Bear County would be better served going to projects that are using innovation and technology to support mobility enhancements. Now, this does require ATD to county concurrence on the innovative projects funded. The discussions to this point with commissioners have been on this funding being primarily directed toward via link and those innovative type services, which is in line with the direction we've heard from Judge Wolf and members of the court. As equally as important to note, this agreement does not impact the 2004 ATD election. So the split that was in effect from the 2004 election is not addressed in this amendment. That has been a concern from some over the last year as this discussion has progressed. So I do want to reassure everyone, this is looking at the 1/8 cent coming in starting January 1st, 2026. We can go to the next slide. And with that, as Commissioner's Court has approved this as of last week, staff does recommend approval of this interlocal amendment.
Thank you,
Mr.
Dr.
Chair?
Yes, trustee Martin?
I would
Trustee
move that we approve this interlocal agreement.
I have a first, but I think there's a question before we get to the second. Trustee Como?
Well, I'll be happy to second that, but I do have some discussion. The question is, the ATD is only in the city of San Antonio. That's the only taxpayers paying into the ATD. So when we agree to this with the county, will that portion be spent only on projects within the city of San Antonio, or will it be system-wide?
Mr. Como, the way the ATD was structured, while it's collected in San Antonio, it does benefit the entire VIA system and service area.
And those municipalities that currently pay into VIA do not pay this extra ATD funding. If they have capacity for additional sales tax, is it possibility that they would have something similar to ATD where they could tax themselves more money and have VIA do something within their boundaries funded by their extra money? Is that a possibility?
I'll take a stab at it, but I'll be glad to defer to Mr. Arndt or to Ms. Elder if they would like to respond in more depth on that one.
Leroy? I think the simplest answer to that question is that the ATD does allow for additional cities to join. They would have to agree, and we would have to agree to have an ATD election in that municipality.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If they have available sales tax to handle that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Como. Trustee Martin?
with the exception of possibly Live Oak, I would say that the majority, the vast majority of citizens of suburban cities pay most of their sales tax in the city of San Antonio. If people in Chevron Park do not have a supermarket in Chevron Park, people in Chevron Park, you know, go to restaurants all over San Antonio, just as people in Alamo Heights go to restaurants in San Antonio, just like people in Castle Hills and so on and so on. So although those are taxes, they're sales taxes, and it's of those sales that happen in the city of San Antonio, but most of the people, all of the tourists that stay downtown in a hotel and eat in restaurants pay taxes in San Antonio, and the majority, if not all, of the suburban cities are already at their 8 they're already at the max sales tax already, so there wouldn't be a spot there.
Thank you, trustee Martin. So I heard a first and a second by trustee Como. I just want to verify.
Yes.
First by trustee Martin, second by trustee Como.
Yes.
All right. All in favor, we know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposers, nay? And the ayes have it. Ms. Elder, is there a legal briefing?
No, sir, there's not.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn the ATD via board meeting?
So moved, trustee Matthews.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? All right, great. We are adjourned from the ATD, and we now enter the VIA board meeting, and I call the meeting to order at exactly 5:17. Mr. CEO, are there any announcements?
Yes, there are a number of announcements today. I think having just come through Thanksgiving and then into the holiday season, you're going to see that there are a number of kind of group appreciations that we're going to wrap up the year with. But we always start with our star of the quarter. And so our star administrator of the quarter is VIA's manager of facility maintenance services, Darren Shimmick. Darren has been with VIA for more than 30 years and constantly performs his responsibilities to the highest level of excellence, and then some. His commitment and dedication to duties keep all of our facilities in excellent working conditions, even though some of the buildings are more than 75 years old. His extensive technical knowledge and continuous excellent demeanor have earned him the respect and the admiration of his fellow colleagues throughout the agency. In fact, any supervisor often refers to him as the perfect employee, which is pretty high praise. And I can't think of a finer praise than that. And the only thing I'll say, Darren, I really personally appreciate the fact that you have agreed to not discuss retirement for at least the next 10 years. So congratulations to Darren. Next up, so we've had stories before about bus operators, for example, helping people along their route, but this is a case of an administrative employee on their way to work, which is very similar. So I'd like to draw your attention to a commendation issued by our Vice President of Procurement, Diane Sampson, to VIA's manager of purchasing, Todd Pashon. Todd came into work a little late on the morning of October 14th and was completely apologetic, but he had stopped to help a neighbor who had fallen in the street while cleaning his sidewalk, taking his garbage bin to the curb. Todd was very concerned for that man's safety, and he called for assistance, got the man safely back to his home, and then on his way home from work that night, he stopped to check in. Diane works with Todd daily. She recognizes that it is in his character to be kind, helpful, and a good Samaritan, and a good reflection on VIA. And so now we have recognized that as well. Thank you, Todd. Next, I'm going to have a few group recognitions. So I want to take a moment now at this end of this second year of COVID, unfortunately, and recognize a team that has been led by Tracy Manning, who was the manager of service planning through February 2021, Maricela Diaz-Wells, who will present shortly, and Scott Bible for their efforts in monitoring service performance and preparing plans and schedules and work rosters, answering customer assistant forms, and supporting bus operations during signups. The team accomplished 5 service changes in just 19 months and provided the National Transit Database information for all VIA services. They supported our Keep San Antonio moving planning work and implemented new dashboards to monitor and improve the fixed route service on 81 routes. So we offer our gratitude for a job well done, and as you can see, Marcel is on the list, Santiago Jaramillo, Dal Pozzi, Ruben Martinez, Regina Ramirez, Scott Bible, Richard Ayaya, Raquel Reyes, Evelyn Brinkley, and Tracy Manning, who's still come back to help us out. So thank all of you, because you've been putting in a human's job over the last several months. The next group is for the station foreman and bus operator group recognition, and they work tirelessly and with very limited resources, as we know, to provide service to the UTSA football games at the Alamodome. So as you know, our manpower is really stretched, but they still manage to cover service for UTSA. Roadrunners, as everyone knows, had an amazing season this year. The excitement of the games was evidenced by the large crowds that attended each one, and those crowds grew with each successive game. To accommodate all those fans, our bus operators, field supervisors, and dispatch truly went the extra mile, at least extra mile, to handle the 5 UTSA Roadrunner football games with limited manpower availability and resources. Worked closely with UTSA and assisted them with their bus shortage as well. They ran service from the campus and we ran service from the park and ride. And so that was also, we're very happy to help them out at the time in which they needed. So special appreciation, Arnoldo Perez, Robert Bruton, Michelle Garza, and Charles Bloom. Next up, now we're going to go to training. So the Texas Department of Public Safety, DPS, implemented the Texas Commercial Driver's License, or the CDL, third-party skills testing program in April of 2017 to authorize qualified companies to be certified by DPS to administer the driving skills exam to applicants seeking to obtain a Class B CDL. A certified provider administers CDL skills tests to the students and or employees. Thanks to continuous efforts by VIA's legal team and by the manager of training, Lawrencelle Harper, we can now announce that 4 safety and training system security supervisors have successfully completed the state certification program, and they are Andrew Flores, Jose Delgado, Christopher Rubio, and Mark Jordan. This notable achievement gives VIA the scheduling advantage and the ability to conduct employee CDL qualification testing without encountering lengthy waits experienced at DPS testing facilities across the state. This has been quite an accomplishment for us as a transit system, but it's an important accomplishment as we try to ramp up with our bus operators. So thank you and congratulations. I wanted to take a moment and share a short letter that was sent to us by a couple that recently visited our city. Kathy and Ted Hay of Spokane, Washington, came to San Antonio in November, and they visited VIA's downtown information center to ask how they could take the bus to the airport. They were so impressed with the customer service they received that they took the time to compose a thank you note and mailed it to us after they returned home. And the part that I wanted to specifically call out, we were in your beautiful city, and that's absolutely correct, the beautiful city last week, and enjoyed ourselves very much. We went to your office on November 10th, 2021 on Commerce Street to inquire about bus service to the airport. We were greeted by a very nice woman who was so gracious and helpful. And we had very good bus service and helpful employees, and so we will be back. And it's nice to think that we're a part of maintaining and growing our base of tourism. So very proud of that endorsement of our training program and our extraordinary employees. We're very much fortunate that we have people who are able to help our customers in that way. And now, surprise. And now we have an individual recognition, and our congratulations go out to VIA Board Secretary Hakeem Brown, who recently completed his studies at Our Lady of the Lake University to secure his Master of Science degree in Organizational Leadership. This is his second postgraduate degree, in addition to a master's degree in public policy from New York University. And Secretary Brown is already proving to be a leader in the community, especially with his founding of the Essence Preparatory Charter School and his selection for the San Antonio Business Journal's 40 Under 40 list and Man of the Year, and having become a new father. All those things. So totally impressed to complete a degree in the midst of all of that at the King. And now with his degree in organizational leadership, he is well equipped. I'm not gonna say well equipped, because I think you already were well equipped, but even better equipped to add to your successes. So congratulations, King. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And finally, we want to take a moment. I want to take a moment to note the passing of Trudy Fields Rector, who was a former VIA trustee who was appointed by the city of San Antonio in 1994 and served 2 years on the board. She was a voice for her people and everything she stood for. She considered her titles to be community organizer, political activist and advisor, campaign manager, political strategist, and then also a public servant serving on the VIA board. She was a fighter for human rights and voter rights, and she worked with children with special needs. She was truly a dutiful servant leader throughout her life, and our thoughts and prayers are with her family and friends. So we'll pause just a moment to recognize our former trustee. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Art. I want to send my condolences, my thoughts and prayers. I know I can say that on behalf of the entire Board of Trustees here at VIA Metropolitan Transit, to the Fields and Rector family, and also in this time thank her for her service, and sending my thoughts to the family. I want to say congratulations to the entire staff who were awarded or commended tonight, and commended on all of their great work that they have accomplished over this year and time here at VIA. So thank you for all of your service, your hard work, and your thoughtfulness throughout our community, those who were acknowledged just for their great acts of kindness in our community as well. It's always good to hear from tourists shouting out VIA, so thank you, Mr. Arndt, for presenting that. I believe we do every day keep San Antonio moving, but it's always good to hear from those who are coming to San Antonio and hearing about how we're doing it and giving us that gratitude. With that, I am going to move to citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens to be heard?
We have 4 citizens to be heard, both online and in person.
Well, I read the statement in the last session. Do I have to read that statement again, or are we good? Okay. I believe we all understand where we stand there. All right, we'll just start with the first citizen.
Will McLeod.
All right, Will McLeod back again. I want to comment a little briefly on the, not only the missing bus stops, but the briefing on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. For information discussed regarding the recent congressional package of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and potential opportunities for VIA as a result of this new legislation. I don't know how you're going to build it because gas has gone up, shelves are empty, supply shortage. Because your President Brandon Biden, decided to, y'all voted for him, and it's unbelievable that inflation's up, supplies are down, and you can't really build. Thank you. You can't really build back better. You're building back broke. And then also, again, Mr. Manning, I'm glad to see him back, but he needs to ride these buses. He needs to get out of his truck and ride these buses because they're always late. The 64 bus I just got off with has at least 20-something passengers, yet we run it hourly. It needs to be run at least 30 minutes. Now, I know there's a driver shortage, but you need to pull some operators from some low performing routes. And as far as route suspensions and service changes, has VIA requested a waiver from the FTA to keep some of these routes suspended instead of eliminated, such as the 550 on the 54 South Alamo? That seems to be a route with some significant ridership, as well as the 301 downtown circulator. The rest I can agree with the exception of the 4 Blossom. Again, why don't you pair the 648 with the 4 like you did on the Broadway? Is it because of the area of town? You don't want to provide bus service? You want to spend $60,000 on a parking ride no one's using because you don't have connectivity there? That would bring connectivity. Also, I'd like to see the 534 paired with the 620 and the 609 paired with the 610. That's to provide transfer opportunities. Now, I'm going to have to end this meeting early because CPS Energy wants more money and they don't deserve it. And so I have to make my case with them. Thank you, and I yield back to Mr.
Willie Mae Clay. Willie Mae Clay. Ms. Clay, we cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. How's that?
Better.
Perfect.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you perfectly, thank you.
Ms. Clay, unmute yourself, please.
I'm unmuted?
Now you.
Okay, I'm gonna start talking. Listen, my comment today has to do with fair transit. It's about using MB. I am disturbed about, the drivers who have their safety belts positioned in front. They're pulling their belts in front of a person's body part. I don't like it. There are some drivers who are correctly securing their belts on the side of individuals. So I am stressing the importance of the drivers, the positions of their belts be monitored, and that the drivers be trained to connect the belts, the shoulder and the lap belt, in a way that when the belts are secured, they will be to the side of the individual, not in front. And lastly, I want to say that the drivers need to be encouraged to close the hatchback carefully and not purposely slam it. Because I'm a wheelchair user and I'm sitting in the rear part of the vehicle. And the drivers oftentimes will slam that door. And the response that they will give is, you have to slam it to lock it. Well, each time I get on the van, I say, please don't slam the door. Well, they slam it. And if they don't like what you said, I feel that they slam it to retaliate. So the drivers need to be made aware that slamming the door is harmful. And they be encouraged to secure the door without purposely slamming it. Now, I hope you were able to hear me. I've ended my comment about securing the seatbelts to the side of the individual and carefully locking the door without slamming it. Thank you very much.
Robert Quinones.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ever since I started writing bill, I haven't wrote it for almost 30 or 40 years. I see a lot of improvements, 100% right there. I've seen a lot of things going on. First of all, I'd like to, I want all the drivers to be recognized because their training is perfect. It's very excellent. As I go in different directions, I see a lot of obstacles to get in front of them. You must understand that there's a train that keeps them from getting there in time. Also, and then when we're in downtown, you have these bicycle riders taking their time when they should just get on the side. I understand that they have every right to be on the street, but VIA needs to move. Like y'all want them to move, but it can't happen. There's a lot of obstacles going on. Also, this is every day. Every time I get on the bus, those cars try to get in front of them right away, and these are very close calls. A bus cannot start on time. It's just like a train. It won't stop on time. It's gonna hit, and that's gonna happen. These cars, they just race to get right in front of the bus. And these are the problems that the drivers are going through. And I'm pretty sure they go through a lot of stress. Not only that, you have people that go in there. Impossible. I mean, some people that shouldn't be in the bus. It's very dangerous. Some are on drugs. People, just like today, when I got on the bus, it was a couple that argued, but the bus driver said, "Hey, get off. I don't want none of that here." But the bus driver is right about that. When they put up with it, they need to get that person out. Everyone with a mask, you want to put a mask, they tell them, get out. So you must understand what these bus drivers are going through. I mean, they're all good. I mean, I always tell them, you drive better than the taxi does. And that's how good they are. We need security in the bus. If they have it in the airplanes, they should have it over here because you are transporting people. And I'm speaking for the senior citizens. They need to feel they're protected. Just like you see this officer here and security there, you feel security.
I'll yield about 1 minute so he can continue.
For the senior citizens.
I'm offering to yield 1 minute of my time so Mr. Quinones can continue.
Well, how much time do I have?
Your time's up, Mr. Quinones, but
Okay, like I said, we need that protection, and we need police officers or your security in the bus now and then, because there's a lot of things going on, especially on Christmas. So I urge you to think about it. It's for our citizens, it's for our senior citizens, and VIA is the only way to go. Thank you. God bless you.
Tony Reese for a total of 2 minutes.
okay. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Quinones for coming down here and spending his time to compliment the good works of VIA. Unfortunately, I do have some serious issues I'd like you to address. I appreciate you hearing the citizens. You have some serious issues with your security procedures, as well as your security officers' actions. There's some policy issues that need to be brought to your attention. One is that your officers have all stated that they believe it is their duty to tell people filming in public that they need to get written permission to do that. That is not your policy. Miss Benavides, Rachel Benavides, I'm sure you all know who she is, got back with me and told me that is not VIA's policy, but your security team continues to do that. That restricts the citizens' rights. It makes the citizen feel like they are under threat of arrest or abuse if they don't do that, when in fact the guards, and I understand it, they stated that it's their policy, but it's not VIA's policy. So how did it become the guards' policy to do that? You have multiple officers who've done that. You have VIA vehicles parking in the Centro Hub at night in the fire zone. They've been doing it for 4 months. I've been continually reporting it to peace officers. They tell me they can't do anything about it because even if they cite them, that the city will dismiss the ticket. We all know that's not acceptable. Something needs to be done about it. That's why I'm here. If security won't do anything about your vehicles parking in fire lanes, I'm sure my voice here will get back down to vehicle maintenance, and that is at the 123 Medina Hub. And again, it happens every night, and when I addressed your employee, he flipped me the bird and then went and complained to your security officers and asked them to throw me off the property. That's not acceptable to me. I will not tolerate that. I know you wouldn't want that to happen. Thank you.
There are one citizens to be heard.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. Ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second, trustee Matthews.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, is nay. The ayes have it. Consent agenda is approved. Item 5, proposed January 2022 service revisions. Ms. Diaz-Wells.
Good afternoon, Secretary Brown and members of the board. My name is Maricela Diaz-Wells. I'm the Manager of Service Planning. I'm here today to propose for action and discussion the retirement of 9 routes and 8 route segments that have been suspended since the onset of COVID. Same as last week, Dr. Leroy Alloway, Chief Government and External Affairs Officer, will give a public engagement update at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. I have presented these proposed service retirements to you as information and for discussion once in August and twice in November. And then we presented again last week. Today, we are asking you to take action on the proposed retirement of 9 routes and 8 route segments with an effective date of January 10th, 2022. These routes and route segments have not been in service for 19 months. Public engagement was conducted during August, September, and November. And again, Dr. Alloway will provide an update at the end of this presentation. And as with every service change, our customer support team will educate the public preceding the effective date. Next slide, please. So there's some key takeaways for today's presentation. We're proposing to retire 9 routes and 8 route segments that have been suspended since the onset of COVID, since April 2020. The Federal Transit Administration considers this length of time as a permanent service change to the network. So we must take some action, meaning that these routes should not stay suspended indefinitely. These types of service changes require court approval, which is why we are here today. And we're using the word retire